Hey guys, this is Tommy from Hero Maker. I'm going to show you how to use the Topo tool. So first, open up Epic Games, your Unreal Engine, your library, go to Installed Plugins, make sure that your topographic map 3D terrain generator is there, and make sure that you've got the newest version because we have some new features that are really helpful for the workflow, and I'm really excited to show you. So let's go ahead and launch. Let's go ahead and start a new project, and I'll show you from start to finish how to get this going. So let's just go ahead and get it. Normal game, let's do first person, and we'll just call it my project. Doesn't really matter for this. I'm just going to show you guys how to get it working. Now you're going to be presented with your normal, however you're going to start up your game, and you're going to notice there's not really anything here. What you need to do is manage plugins. If you don't have that new plugins are available, you're going to want to go up here to settings and plugins. So you're going to have to make sure that your TopoToolPlugin is enabled and then restart the editor. For a new project, should be pretty fast like you saw. Now, with that, we can go ahead and close it, and you'll notice we still don't have anything here. So you're going to want to go here next to filters and hide or show the sources panel. Content is only one of the folders that we have access to. If you don't see all these other ones, you're going to want to come down here to view options, show engine content, and show plugin content. Again, view options in the bottom right corner here, show engine and show plugin. You can show C++ classes if you want because the Topo tool does have a few of those. So you're going to go over here, scroll down to your Topo tool plugin content, click on that, double click on the Topo tool folder, and right click Topo widget, run editor utility widget. So this runs just natively in the editor. You don't have to run the game. You don't have to do anything else. We're going to go ahead and create a new height map, and you'll be presented with this image. And what you have here, this is a topo line. It's highlighted in green because that's the default selection color. This is the center, the geometric center. It doesn't actually correspond to any information other than that. And you can go ahead and select individual points to create the shape of your terrain. Say you want it to be, you want to have a dip here, but you like these other points, you can hit add spline point, and it will create one more point to the right of the last one that you just selected. So you can create really complex and really intricate details here. One of the things that we got a lot of feedback on that made it a little bit hard to use in the past was that once you created one bit of terrain that you liked, you had to hit new topo line and then do all the same thing again. And you had to select it and drag out all the points and all that crap. By the way, to delete a whole thing, you can either hit Shift Delete or you can select the center and hit Delete. But now we have a new feature, copy and paste. It seems crazy, but coding it from scratch is something that we've been working on, and now we have it. So you're going to go ahead and select it. It will do whole features. It won't do individual points. And it is with Shift and not Control because of the way the Unreal Editor already has binded the keyboard shortcuts. So if you're ever confused about my keyboard shortcuts for this tool, they're in the Help menu, and pretty much anything that you think should be Control is replaced with Shift. And anything that should be Tab is now T. So let's go ahead and copy and paste. And we also have scaling now. So you've got this new L shape that you've got, but it's just the same size. Well, Shift S and you can scale it. It's actually really useful. Say that everything else is good, but you kind of want it to be wider along the length. We'll Shift S and then hit X. And you can do it only in the X direction, and you can Shift S and only do it in the Y direction. So these are some new features that we've added that are really helpful for more rapidly producing some cool terrains. So back to what a topo line is. Let me go ahead and delete this guy actually. So let's select one of these brown lines, and you're going to see over here on the right the topo tool line, or the topo line options. This is the altitude value for the line, and right now both these lines are the same, but if we want to draw up a mountain, we're going to need to change these values. So let's make the wider line a little bit smaller, because this is generally how you're going to see topography in actual topographic maps. These single points, these are basically a full line condensed down to a single point, and they're what we call peaks and valleys. Um, and they also only have an altitude value, but they're to designate the extremes, so the very top, or in this case, the very bottom. And an extension of that is the altitude values you see on the corners. These are the altitude values of the corners of the map, and you can go ahead and change those to be what you need them to be. Um, for right now, 000 is a fine option. Um, what's nice is that when you is that this tool is really built for iterating. And so let's say you've done something you don't like, or you need this to be a different value. You can go ahead, create your terrain, load it in, look at it, say, this is not what I want, come back, fix it, and regenerate. So let's go ahead and save this really quick. We'll just save it as file name. This is just an internal using Unreal Engine's save game feature. There are two more features of terrain that we've got right now. We've got roads and rivers, and they're basically two halves of the same coin. So right now I've got the road selected. Roads have a default width of 10, but you can make them wider and the line will appear wider to reflect that. You can add spline points to make more complicated road shapes. And what this will do eventually in the generation process is it will take the terrain and it will take an average of that spot and flatten it. So you'll get basically what looks like a cut in the terrain, a flat cut that will show you where a road would be. And with a river, you have two values. You have that width, but you also have depth. And what that basically is you take a ice cream scoop and you just scoop out the terrain. And both of these are really handy for blocking out these major shapes. So let's go ahead and save this as it is right now. Save it as file name again. It'll just overwrite that old save. If you want to see it, you can hit load, and all of your settings are still there. Your altitude, and I can show you this again. I can go ahead and let's say I delete this line, and it's like, oh no. Regardless of the fact that there is a undo button, you can also reload from your last save point. So additionally, one other feature here is the background image. So say like you drew something out by hand that you really like. There's a mountain here, there's a stream here, that kind of thing. You can go ahead and load it in the back. And if you don't like the colors, say like you have say this is all brown for whatever reason, you don't like the brown lines, you can go to the color menu, and we have a default, which is what you see. We have a dark mode, and then custom. So you can go ahead, choose from this drop down, and go ahead and figure it out how you like it based on that kind of background image that you've got. I like to keep it on the default for this. Say you're done with the image, you hit clear image, and you're back to normal. One thing to note is that the save does not save the background image, so if you save and you want to reload during a new session, you're going to have to reload that background image, but that's all right because it'll always be in the same spot. Now, if you ever need help seeing what different options are available for building these topo lines, again, there is that keyboard shortcuts. T goes between types of the same. Shift T goes between the different types. So let's go to roads and rivers, and let's select between the two different ones, and then you can use WASD to move it around. And let's go ahead and look at the generate menu. So you're going to have a few different options here. You're going to need to specify a full file path, so let's do that first. I've got a file in the downloads folder. You don't actually need to have it have that .r16, but that is the file format that it will come out as eventually. By default, select add noise is selected, and this is Perlin noise generation. That's what gives this terrain the actual look of real terrain. You can also additionally add erosion, so you'll get streaked lines, basically coming down the mountains to show where water flows, and that can be kind of cool too. That one right now takes a lot more RAM, so if you're going for a quick render, I would just keep it on add noise. It's kind of recommended to have 16 gig RAM for add erosion, but add noise is actually pretty low impact, and since the last update, or with this new update, rendering with just noise is so much quicker. It kind of blew me away when I first did it. So you also have advanced options. IDW power refers to inverse distance weighted. That's the algorithm that's used in a lot of GIS software and also in this software to create the actual terrain in between the points that you've established. I've seen a lot of literature online that says 2 is a good value. I found that 3 works really well for the setup that we've got. If you don't like the resolution, you can also change that here. And if you change it there, it will get changed along the way. So let's put it back to 1480 because that's the good default. And we'll go ahead and hit render. You'll see it says it might take a few minutes. Generally, I've found that with pretty simple terrain like you've got, or even a little bit more complicated, as long as you don't put erosion in there, it pretty much takes less than a minute now. We've also made some improvements to that algorithm. You may have tried it before. Wow, see, it's already done. And gotten terrain that was a little bit lumpy, a little bit not what you're looking for. The inverse distance weighted Shepherd's method has been improved, and it looks even more incredible now. So let's go ahead, import from file. So you're going to go back now to the editor. We're going to use Unreal's built-in tools now. You're going to go to landscape, and instead of create new, you're going to go import from file. Because what we've just built is a height map file, which is basically just shades of black and white to define what the height of the terrain is. So we're going to go ahead and import that. And one of the things that's helpful to do later, I would say leave it at scale 100 right now. But later on, if you've imported this terrain and you're like, the variation's just too much for me, you can go ahead and change your Z scale when you import it. And that's a really helpful way to just affect the whole terrain at once. Let's go ahead and import, and let's go ahead and quickly change the camera speed because that's going to be really clutch because this is pretty big terrain. And you see here, we've got our terrain with that big mountain in the middle and some really nice looking variation. That variation that you see, that just like kind of noisy surface, that's the Perlin noise. Here you can see the road that we created, how it's kind of just chopped into the terrain like that. It might look a little bad right now because it's kind of, a little choppy, but honestly, just one pass over with the smooth tool with a low tool strength and a small brush size, and this looks really nice. You either texture this with your dirt terrain texture for like a dirt road, or you throw a spline mesh over this and it's beautiful. So that's the road value, and then over here you can see we have the river. And we might not like how that was put in. We might want to put in some more topo lines to sort of smooth this transition a little bit easier, or just make some cutbacks for the river, or maybe we do like it and we want to put a waterfall in. Either way, you just throw one bit of smoothing over it and all the choppiness has gone away. It's really nice, really quick, simple. Throw a water mesh over that, or water material on a plane, and you've got a nice river. And so you've got this terrain, you think it looks good, but there's something you want to tweak. So let's go back to the topo widget, let's cancel it, and let's say move the peak over here. Save it again, file, generate, boom. We'll go back once this is finished, we'll delete that landscape and we'll re-import, and then that'll show you the iteration process. And we finished, so hit OK, close this out, and we'll go ahead and select landscape, delete it, select landscape over here, import from file, it's already the same file, and we'll go ahead and import. And you can see that the height has moved because we moved that peak. And that's how you iterate through here. It's a pretty simple process. I hope you find it useful. That's what I built it for, is so that you can quickly and easily go through and edit terrain that you have this image of in your mind, and then it comes out looking real. So please, if you have any questions, reach out to me at heromaker3d@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer any questions, help you out with any issues, bugs that you find. I'd love to see images of stuff that you create with this, because that's why I've built it. So hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope this has helped. Thanks.